How tough was that for the last 3.5 months to play that style, and do you feel like that caught up at all in this series?
No comment. I never say that because my guy AD said what he needed, and then he was gone the following week. So I got no comment. I put that uniform on every night. I gave everything I had, and that's all. That's all that matters.
Are you saying that because I'm inexperienced and that was an inexperienced decision that I made? You think I don't talk to my assistants about substitutions every single timeout?
No, I just think there's a lot of coaches lean on their assistants in those situations.
As do I, every single time. That's a weird assumption. All right.
The Lakers season ended last night, and there were so many errors in that game. But going back to the previous video, I do really think that the season ended on Sunday when they lost that game 4, inserted the death lineup that JJ Redick did. And going into this game, the clip that I showed here of that interview that he had where he essentially went off on a young reporter for honestly no reason, for an overreaction. But if you look at it, he was being criticized about playing that death lineup, and it's something to be criticized about. I don't know why we can't just come out and say that we were wrong in certain cases. He was clearly wrong. You can't play LeBron James at 40 years old the entire second half. He was gassed in this game. He had given it all. You got to play LeBron in the postseason in these games. I get the back's against the wall, but you've put him in that spot from what you've done in the previous games. He played 40 minutes tonight. I don't know. He played dang near the whole game in game 4. It's too much mileage. He has too much mileage for him to do that. So that didn't make a whole lot of sense. Then you go to the issue that we knew they were going to have, that they don't have a center. You cannot win an NBA title without a center. It just can't happen. And I get JJ Redick, he's a small ball guy, but they really were missing a guy like Mark Williams. They were really missing. And what's crazy, they brought in Alex Len, who has sat on their bench. They've never played him. I don't know why they didn't try to put him in at any point of the season. Doesn't make a whole lot of sense. Jackson Hayes, to play him 0 minutes is just dumb when you don't have any size. And he said in another interview, he said, well, it's a trade-off with scoring. It's like, if that's the case, why are you not playing Dalton Connect, you played pretty much the entire year and knocked down a lot of big threes for you? I didn't get that. The not playing Dalton Connect, I think, is, especially in a series like this where you kind of had to go into your tool bag and find options, find things to do. To not play him at all, dang right disrespectful. And I think JJ Redick has done a good job. I just think he got outcoached in this series. I think he doubled down on stuff. And that's the thing. If you're going to make mistakes, that's not a big deal. He's a first-year head coach. I get it. Don't double down on him. And I think he'll learn that. But the Maxi Kleba thing is one of the dumbest things. You're going to play a guy that you haven't played on your team at all. They said he had barely practiced with them. You're going to play that guy in an elimination game, pretty much telling everybody else on the bench, like Dalton Connect and Jackson Hayes, this guy hasn't even practiced with us, and I trust him in this game more. It's just a bad look. It's something that you don't do, and he did it. And Maxi Kleba, even when he was out there, looked super confused. So it's depressing, but the Lakers are done in 5. I believe I predicted the Lakers to win this series in 5 or 6. It's completely was flipped on its head. Minnesota really won this series, I believe, when they won game 3, when LeBron scored 40 points and they still weren't able to win. And then they really solidified it in game 4. But you saw it the entire game. It was clear what the game plan was. It was, let's abuse the fact that they don't have any size. And they just gave the ball to Rudy Gobert, and he dominated. And let's be honest here. He's not doing that against a traditional center. They just don't have one. The tallest guy out there on the stretches was 6'8". So in this offseason, they need to get an athletic 7-footer, preferably defensive center. They don't need him to score. That's the thing. They don't need him to score. You have the production. If you look at Luka, when he went to the finals with the Mavs, it was key that he had Derek Lively and Gafford. Those were two really key pieces for him that he needed to throw up the lobs. He likes throwing lobs, and he needs their perimeter defense. Now, I will say, Luka, tad bit out of shape. He's going to have to, and hopefully LeBron can work him through some of his processes, though. He's going to have to get in better shape. He doesn't need to become a great defender, like people are saying. He just needs to get into better shape. I mean, come on. At this point, and I get it. I think some of this, we're not looking at the fact that he was trading in the middle of the season. He's coming off an injury in the middle of the season. Maybe this just wasn't the year. And it definitely wasn't the year because the size. Do you think this team would have fared well throughout the playoffs when the tallest guy on the floor at several stretches is 6'9"? It just doesn't happen. You need a center. You need a center. And they just didn't have one. They had Jackson Hayes, who I'll agree with JJ. Jackson Hayes is a lackluster center, but they needed him in this game. But in the future, they got to get that athletic 7-foot center. No ifs, ands, or buts about it. The rest of the roster, I like the rest of it. See who you can keep at that point. I'd like them to keep Vanderbilt. LeBron, I think he's going to come back for one more year. At the previous 2 years, he's had a similar press conference at the end of the game where he says, I don't know about his future. He's not going to go out like this. There's no way. This would be the most depressing way for him to end his career. Most depressing way for him to end his career on a super low note. He's not going out yet. He probably wants a full year with Luka too. So expect him back next year. I think that's going to be his last year. I think he'll announce it before the season. He'll do a farewell tour. That Lakers team, if you can get a center and you can play a little bit better situationally in the postseason, they could win a title next year. They're going to be my favorite to win a title next year if they can get a center. And you also have to factor, this was a really bad matchup for them. And originally, as I said, thought this was the second best draw. It wasn't. They just were more physical. They were bigger. And you also have to factor performances were lackluster. Austin Reeves was very bad in this series. He had moments, but overall he was very bad in this series. He didn't look like Austin Reeves. If you look for, that's a double-edged sword, because then you look at Minnesota, Julius Randle looked like a stud. I owe him an apology. Going in to this playoff series, I pretty much said he was trash and that he put up empty stats. He made his presence felt in this series for sure. He played really well. Anthony Edwards solidifying himself. And then Rudy Gobert came on that last game. But I will say, when you're that tall and you got nobody to guard you, it's pretty easy to put up those points. So I'm not going to give him all this credit in the world, but he exploited something. And that's just the way it went. But this Lakers team, got to continue to grow, get better. JJ Redick, he's going to look back at this series whenever they talk about this series in the future, 5-10 years from now. He's going to look back at it and he's going to say, I wasn't ready. I wasn't ready for the swings of the playoffs. I wasn't ready for this. Just wasn't ready. It's fine. Move on. They weren't filled out enough. You knew after 2-3 games of this series, they were not filled out enough to win the title. Let's not waste time. Get into the offseason. Do what you need to do. If they don't get a center, they're the dumbest franchise I've ever seen. You need a center. You need a 7-footer. That's what you need. Go out, get it. And I think this team should be, with that addition of that center and the Luka rest and the LeBron extra rest as well, I think they should be the favorite to win the title next year. We'll see what they do, though.